Positive energy and good vibrations from me to you. You have now tuned in to the Imperfect Fathers podcast.
Yo, positive energy, good vibrations from me to you. Lord. This is another dope episode of the Imperfect Fathers podcast. Yo, Kings, what's good? Yo, Chris, what's the word, man?
Hey, blessing and progressing my way, man. How about yourself?
Yo, we still here breathing, man. So I have no
Hey,
complaints. You know what I mean? We on this side of the dirt, baby. So I'm good over here.
Facts. Every day above ground is a good one.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm sitting here chilling right now, enjoying the fact that we finally got everything situated. Like, yo, switching things up a little bit always gives a little bit of headache. So right now, I'm celebrating the fact that everything sounds good, and we're hopefully everything goes well throughout this entire podcast right now. But as usual around here, man, you guys know we got some things that we must take care of. And those two things are paying the bills and talking to the good man upstairs. So with that being said, let's do those two things. Yo, good man upstairs, man. We appreciate life. We appreciate health. We appreciate everything about you. We appreciate the fact that you created us. And right now in this space, we ask you for the strength and the wisdom to continue to go across these airways that we may say something to help an individual be the better version of himself. But not just their own wants and needs, the pleasure of God, but the generations to come and come from their offspring. This is why we do what we do. We ask you blessings in the name of the Most High. Yo, all right, around these good podcasts now, you guys know we have been faithful because they have been faithful to us. Those guys over at It's Now or Never Entertainment. Listen, for all your music needs, whether it be hip-hop, R&B, gospel, you name it, go over there and holler at them. And all you podcasters, all you content creators, listen. You go over there and use the word imperfect, you'll get 50% off on any beat in the beat store. And I'm speaking to you content creators. I know how difficult it is to get that royalty-free music. Trust me, if you go over there and check them out, you will have no headaches with royalties of any of those sorts. Go over there and check them out and let them know that we sent you from the Imperfect Fathers. You'll get 50% off on any beat in the beat store. So that's half off any beat. Go over there, shop smart, shop black. That's important. But shop It's Now or Never Entertainment. Let them know that we sent you. Yes. Yo, so our responsibility is out of the way, Chris. And today's conversation, we're going to talk about fatherhood without being fathered. This is a space in both of our lives that we can speak on probably for hours and days on end. You know what I mean? Because we are literally the product and the outcome of being fathering children without being fathered. So I think it's gonna be a dope topic, bro, because like I said, this not something that we read in books, man. This is our life. I got some notes right now in front of me on the laptop right now, but we about to talk from life experience more than notes right now. So I know it's gonna be a fire conversation, man.
Facts. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so let's get into it. So the reason why now, first of all, Chris, did you know I didn't even know that fatherlessness was a niche itself until just recently. Like, it's
Really?
sad that that's a niche, bro. Yeah. Fatherlessness is a niche.
Well, remember when we first came into the six-figure accelerator and all that, my original value proposition, I think is what it was called, or value statement, was helping men to forgive their fathers. Because of that particular reason of the absentee of father, like as far as the generations before us. But our generations is less common. It still happens, but it's way less common. So, but men our age, unfortunately, we're very experienced in being fatherless. So, yeah, that's what my original thing was. And then it kind of spun from that. Even though I still help all my clients with father issues, I guess it stopped in the marketing.
Yeah. Listen, bro, like, I didn't even know that it was a thing until, like, honestly, a few months ago when I was like really, my bad. I was doing some research and I came across it. I'm like, wow, I can look this up as per topic. Like, this is actually the name of the niche, which is fatherlessness. And I was like, wow. I'm sitting here realizing, I guess this could be my niche. You know what I'm saying? Because if there's anything I'm passionate about, is being a father. You know what I'm saying? Like we talked offline, and I was telling you, bro, like there's nothing too much I'm more proud in than me being a father. Like I don't really hold my head too high about too many things I've done in the past. But me being a father and being a 10 toes down one, that's something I stand on. And that's something I take tremendous pride in. But just knowing that we have a niche because we are now fathers who haven't been fathered. And I know that there's many, many young men, especially black men our age, due to what happened in society and all those other things, we don't really want to go down that rabbit hole. But for whatever reason, we were the generation that wasn't fathered. So what do you think the impact of that really was on us black men emotionally? Like, what do you see, especially because you're in the space of healing? Like, what do you see has been the outcome of us not being fathered emotionally?
In my experience, anytime I come across a person that has anger issues, a lot of times that's linked to daddy issues. Can be linked to mother issues as well, but my experience, daddy issue stems from the absence of a father. In most cases, there are certain people who have negative experiences with the dad inside the home, but most of the time, daddy issues is because of absent father, and mama issues is because of a present mama. So yeah, man, it's just you see a lot of anger, you see a lot of being closed out, you see a lot of feelings of abandonment and a lot of fear of abandonment. You see a lot of feeling like not good enough. You feel a lot of overcompensating because you don't really know what the archetype is for a man. Some of us may have had a stepfather or not, but it's not the same as your father, though. So it leaves like a void in a lot of men, in my experience, what I help with deal with in my clients. But it's so important because I made a video on this earlier today where I was talking about emotional transference, emotional transmission. And the reason why, even if you don't never plan on speaking to your father again, why we need to heal as fatherless fathers is because, and when I say fatherless father, I want to be clear on my position, like, because I knew my dad and I would spend maybe like a week with him throughout the year. You know what I'm saying? Then I would see him on like Christmas and all that. But
you know what? My bad, Chris, because I'm jumping the gun then. You know what I'm saying? Because I do want that to be clear. I want to state how our position on this fathers, because what I don't want to do is take the credit for the men who were in our lives, right? Like I don't want to discredit the men who were in our lives. So I'm glad you said that. So,
and my father's in my life today. We've done the work, and we have a good relationship. Now we still have some things to address, but so I don't want it to be misconstrued because I see my father weekly, and he has an amazing relationship with my son. It's so different than the relationship of me and my father. So I want to make that clear that I'm speaking from my experience as a young boy, but I have changed the dynamics of my relationships as a grown man.
And that's awesome, because I'm so glad you pointed that out, because I definitely want our viewers and listeners to subscribe. As a matter of fact, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. I said it earlier in the podcast, Chris. I'm getting better at this.
That was a good one,
though. Word. It hit me in the head just now. But I wanted to speak from my position and let people know where we're coming from. So for me, I wasn't fathered. At 7 years old, I had a stepfather who stepped in and did the best he could. Now, was I fathered? And he'll tell you, to be the first to tell you, that I wasn't. There isn't any time in my life where I can tell you I've been fathered. This is where I've been longing for my entire life. And in this position of me being a father now, with Chris, when you spoke about overcompensating, I found myself, especially earlier, and sometimes even right now with my son, not so much with my daughter, but with my son now, I find myself overcompensating because I'm not sure of what my behavior to him actually is supposed to look like. You know what I'm saying? So when you said that just now, I really wanted to stop and make that a point, because it makes it it gives you a whole different perspective when you know where we're coming from with this conversation.
But even just holding it right there, that thought alone is what helped me forgive my father. And what kind of helped get on that journey, because just like you said, you don't know how you're coming off to him because you didn't have no representation. And this is what I always do to kind of crack the surface of helping my clients forgive or start the process of forgiving. Because a lot of times, unfortunately, when it comes to like anger and resentment, there can be this roadblock or barrier to forgiveness because you don't feel like really the person deserves forgiveness. You feel entitled in a sense to feel some type of way about this person. But forgiveness is really for you, because anger is like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die. You know, anger is going to do way more in the vessel that it's stored in than anything it can be poured on. And so I always tell them that. So we want to get the thing out of the system. And what, again, started with me was understanding, okay, I'm recognizing how, and this is before I even had a kid, but I'm recognizing the struggles of life as I get older. And I didn't have a dad. My dad didn't have a dad either. So his father gave my grandmother 6 kids and then dipped on them. There was no physical presence. There was no financial support. So my father's greatest pain growing up was they had to wear hand-me-down clothes. So they're always getting joned on at school and cracked on at school because the holes in the clothes and all this other stuff. And then because my grandma was only one person trying to take care of 6 kids, and both of my grandmother's parents were murdered when she was like 6 months old. So she didn't have no parents trying to raise 6 kids. As the only child, no siblings. So it's like my father's greatest struggle as a kid was financial struggles, seeing my grandmother struggle, seeing eviction notices, having to wear hand-me-down clothes, never being able to, you know what I'm saying, just get a car whenever he wanted, or just buy whatever he wanted, or dress however he wanted to. That's why my dad irons his clothes to go to the gym to this day. My dad looks nice anytime you see him. My dad will come home from a 12-hour day shift, and even though he's only going to be up for 2 hours, he got on a full fit, looks nice. Anytime you go to my dad's house, he looks nice, like always. But it stemmed from pain.
Right.
It stems from pain. And so how this ties into how I forgave my father was because in my father's mind, how our archetype is built, just like your archetype was built, was based upon either what we experienced and we're going to replicate that, or I'm going to stay away from that shit, or it's from what we didn't experience and we're trying to make up for it. So my father, what he experienced in his mind, he's like, shit, my motherfucking mama wasn't able to buy clothes really like that because it's 6 kids and it's only one income. And then, it's always financial struggle. So we was tight as hell when it comes to money. Eviction notices, all this. I never had to experience it. I got to be honest. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, not to say my mom didn't struggle and all this other stuff like that, but we've never been put out of a house. Never. Like, I don't know what that, I don't know what it's like to wear hand-me-down clothes. I don't know. My dad, I would come home and it's just boxes of shoes there. It's just Fat Farm, Sean John, Pelly Pale, all this other stuff when I'm in elementary school. I dress nice all the time. I just didn't see him.
Right.
Because the archetype in his head was,
I'm not going to make sure my son don't be without.
And in his mind, because he didn't have another model that showed, yo, go to all your son's sporting events. Yo, talk to him when he dealing with stuff. Yo, check in with him every day. Yo, he don't know that shit. He's just building a model off of what he missed, the lack of what he experienced. So that's what led to my forgiveness for him. I can't hold him to some shit he didn't know. Now, if he grew around nothing but dudes that was taking care of their kids and being emotionally involved in their kids' life, and he chose not to do it, we would be having a different conversation. But that's not the circumstances. My father wasn't really around that shit. You can see it when I bring him to my son. And like now he's more able to just be all on my son and hug him. But nigga, when I first had a son, it was awkward as hell for my father.
What do I do with this shit?
I mean, you could just see the awkwardness with him trying to be loving, though. He's trying. So the desire,
making an effort.
So that's what I'm saying. A lot of times we hold the fire to our parents because we don't think that they're trying just because of the results that we're judging. Mm-hmm. But we don't know what model of the world that they are basing their decisions off of. That's why I always tell people, anytime a client brings to me, yo, I got issues with my parent. Do you know what your parents' relationship was like with their parents? Mm-hmm. That will tell a lot. oh, my father wasn't in my life and all that. People, how he was raised. I know.
Right.
I don't give a fuck how he. A lot of people don't want to do that, but that is where the empathy comes in, and a lot of times that's where the healing can come in. And I remember when I told my dad that, like, yo, I asked him, I was like, do you think I harbor negative feelings towards you? And he was like, I don't think you harbor negative feelings towards me. I just think that you think I could have been a better dad. And I was like, man, I want you to know that I think that you was the best dad that you knew how to be. And I appreciate that. And I don't expect nothing else from you. And my dad started crying.
Yep. Absolutely.
Started crying, and he told me, like, you can't, he was like, I can't tell you what that meant. And then literally right after that, he immediately said everything that I needed to hear. I'm sorry for not being in your life. I'm sorry for not being there. I'm sorry we wasn't close. I'm sorry I wouldn't show up to your events. I'm sorry this. I was just ashamed of what I was doing or who I was with, and I didn't want you to see him with, because I had, again, his own mental image of what he feels like he's supposed to be at that age, what he's supposed to be, what he's supposed to be driving, what he's supposed to be doing with his life. And when that don't fit, niggas feel shameful. We know this. We got certain friends that when they don't feeling good in life, nigga, you got to hunt these niggas down. Where you at, bro? Like, why you not answering the phone? Why you, nigga, you ain't got to work? I'm not judging you like that, but we can't help how they choose to process certain things based upon what they experience. So, not to overtalk, but yes, forgiving fathers is a huge thing.
Bruh, listen, and that right there, and when you say over talking, now you hitting the nails on the head, bro. Because when I talk about forgiveness, like I had to write a letter, bro. Like, so in the whole letting go and doing forgiveness and all those things, which is a part of my program as well, is like, in order for you to get well and be where you need to be, you have to address the past. And for me, I don't ever believe in giving someone something out of the having tasted myself, right? If I haven't done the work myself, I'm not gonna give it out. So when it comes down to this forgiving yourself and forgiving your past, you have to forgive yourself and the people that was in your past. So right now we're talking about father. So for me, I didn't have the opportunity to speak to my real father. Come to find out, he's no longer with us. You know what I'm saying? Because as you know, Chris, I did go do the research. I went and found out. I did my little digging, but he's no longer. Sad to say, he's not here. You know what I'm saying? So it is a tough pill to swallow. But at the end of the day, is once you make peace with something, right? Once you've taken the time to do the work, it's easier to deal with things, because I don't think that healing is an ending process. I think it's an ongoing process. So me right now, just understanding that, like, I have to mend things in my own mind and spirit for me to be able to go forward and be okay with understanding that there are some questions that I just won't get answered. I realized I had to sit down and write a letter. And I wrote a letter from my father to me, basically saying the things that I wish he would have said to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I basically wrote the letter in a way that apologized for the things that I felt like he did wrong or he wasn't able to do. And to be honest, Chris, that changed my entire outlook on fatherhood itself. It freed me from all the anger that I was harboring towards him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't get a chance to find out what his why was, right? I didn't get a chance to do that, sit down and have those conversations. But the fact that I was able to let it go and release the anger I had towards him, because the truth of the matter is, I wasn't just angry at him. I was also angry at my mom. You see what I'm saying? Because it wasn't just him involved in the situation. And for me to just to think that, I can get past this without dealing with the entire hurt, I would be foolish. So I realized I had to get past not only the hurt from him, but the hurt from my mom as well. And let me tell you, bro, the conversation this past weekend, she was here. Oh man, like, I enjoyed her presence because all that underlying feelings and the pain and resentment that I had no longer existed. It was truly a beautiful event, bro. And it came from being able to heal that wound that I felt like would never be healed. You know what I'm saying? Like, being able to touch that thing now it ain't as tender as it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, when somebody talks about fatherhood now, it's like, I don't clench my jaw. I don't get angry no more. As soon as somebody talking about fatherhood, because now it's like, okay, I've let that go, and I've actually released the anger and resentment that I had towards that whole situation. Everyone else that was included, because not only that, if I be even more honest, I had some resentment to my aunts, to my grandmother, for everyone who knew the story that never told me. You know what I'm saying? Like I had major resentment.
But
And
that's why I said, and not to cut you off, but that's why I
yeah,
said a lot of father wounds stem from the absence of fathers, but a lot of mother wounds stem from the present mother.
right.
Because once a man or child period gets older and you start to investigate a little bit as far as certain situations, then you can understand. And that's why I also tell mothers who are wilding out today, you look, you may be able to cause more pain in in the father's life on the front end,
Mm-hmm.
but you will have greater pain on the back end
That,
of that child's life, having to deal with all these things that once his mind is able to develop and able to think and process things for himself, and he starts asking questions,
good
that's when
luck.
you got to deal with all this stuff. And a lot of things, man, I'm telling you, it could cause people to feel some type of way. You know what I'm saying? Especially if
Yeah.
you grew up in an environment where I was listening to Shiraza Ali talk about how the
Oh,
reason
shout
why we
out,
get,
Miss Ali.
shout out to her, how we get the negative narratives about our fathers is from the women that are in our lives, our mothers, our aunties, our grandmas. It's always when dad can't show up, it's the kid is just like, oh, dad can't show up. But it's the people around the kid that's your damn daddy, your deadbeat daddy, your daddy will never come,
Mm-hmm.
your daddy always
Word.
doing. And that's the narrative that starts to form in our mind. Back to that emotional transference.
Right.
And so we just start to develop these feelings, not because we chose to process that, but because the people around us put those thoughts in us. So once we get older and we're start to looking at the situation objectively, then we're just like, yo. So I understand you completely. And me and my mother have had to have a lot of difficult conversations. And honestly, the more in depth me and my mother have those conversations, I've had to call my father at least on 3 occasions and apologize to him.
Mm.
And you want to know what this nigga told me every time? Give your mama grace. Give your mama grace. Like, she ain't gave this nigga grace my whole life. And then this nigga,
He over here like, nah, don't give your mother grace, boy.
but that's
Hey.
why I told him, I said, the older I get, Dad, the more I appreciate you being my father. The older I get and the more I truly get to know you as a man.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know now, being a man myself, how the image can be distorted of you coming from a woman.
Yes, absolutely.
So getting to know him as a man for myself was a game changer. And that's kind of what our conversation was when we had talked about it, what prompted you to go search and all that. Because a lot of times, again, that narrative can form, and unless, like Kevin Samuels would always say, you want to hear your father's story from his mouth.
That's a fact. That's a whole fact. And like it changes the game, man. Like when you're able to hear the story from the horse's mouth, right? Like when you're able to hear that directly, bro, it gives such closure. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the one thing, if I ever say I probably have a regret, is the fact that I didn't get a chance to have that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially at this age and stage, because you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know I would feel this way right now. You know what I'm saying? When I was younger, with all the anger and all the resentment, and this is a lesson to all of you young ones out there. If you got an opportunity to reach out to your pops, man, and square things away and find out and get your questions and all your things answered, let your pride go, let your ego go for a little while and go get that answer, man. Because after me and Chris had the conversation, I was like, man, he's right. Like I really should go ahead and go find out more. And I deserve to find out more. Right. I have the right to know where I come from and all these other things. So it's just sad that it was too late when I actually got the chance to start going looking for it. So I want my life to be a lesson learned, an example to everyone out there. Yo, don't wait until it's too late. If you go back to I know we're at episode 50 something right now, but if you go back to episodes back, it was a young guy that I was coaching that he just wanted the opportunity to talk to his pops, but he wanted to work the nerves up. He wanted to get the confidence to do it. And then the day he got the confidence to go do it, he made the phone call and found out his pops had just passed away. It ain't the same as mine, but it almost is, because when I really did want to go and find out, come to find out, I was too late.
So let me ask you, that is one perspective on how to look at it. Like, yo, use me as an example. Don't wait too late. Don't put things off. But what can you take that lesson to mean in your life going forward when it comes to other people? Who else have you been putting off that you need to talk to or address or reach out to or have that conversation that you just been putting off?
Yo, and great question. But because of that, bro, and because of life being so short, bro, I've made it my business each week to reach out to at least one person that I've lost contact with. At least one person to say, yo, what's up? I'm still breathing. You still good? I'm checking in with you. Because for real, like you said, bro, like if this affected you in this way, is it going to affect other relationships? And truthfully, it has. Because now I'm like, it can't go. Time can't lapse, and I'm so quote unquote busy and working, doing what I'm doing, that I'm not checking in on family members. Because when we get that call saying this all over, we gonna be tight. You know what I'm saying? Like we gonna be hurt. But are you really making the effort? And like I gotta be truthful. Like even my man that passed away, like me and him didn't talk as much as we should have. You know what I'm saying? Like we really should have been at least weekly on a check-in. Like, yo, what's good? Not on every few months, not on every 6 months. So, this is and another thing. So right now, this is a great segue. I'm wearing this shirt right now. It's called Life. This is another example of how short life is. So a few weeks ago, my wife goes to work as a regular day, and I go to pick her up. You know what I'm saying? As I do every day. And she had this real dark tone in her voice. Like, yo, babe, it's not good up at school. And I'm like, are you okay? First question. I'm fine. There's nothing wrong. But our principal's husband passed away. What? Who? Mrs. Priest's husband passed away? Doesn't make sense. How? I just seen him a few days ago walking inside of the Publix. He's in Publix all the time. Like, he went to bed and never woke up, bro. Just that simple. He went to bed and didn't wake up. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because me and him have had opportunities and interactions where we've talked and we spoke, but it was a surface level, and I've always felt the urge to say, yo, what do you do? Right? Like, what is it that you do? Because he has his energy, and come to find out he was a comedian, right? And the way I found out he was a comedian, because at one of the events that I was at, he was actually doing an act at the event. I was a vendor at the event, and he was performing. So I peeked in and seen him because I was obviously working. I'm looking in. I'm like, wait a minute, I know that dude. I'm listening in, and he actually was really funny. So I said to myself, I came home. I said, yo, babe, your boss's husband is really dope as a comedian. I can't wait to sit down with him, probably with him, hopefully get him on a podcast one day. I see him in passing, or I'll catch him later. Oh, well, I'll talk about the podcast in a minute. Guess what? I'll never have the opportunity to even invite him on the show. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is another example, bro. This is why, like, everything that I'm saying now is like, yo, everything that we have to do right now. Like, that's the reason I even texted you the other day. We had an offline conversation I'm gonna bring online right now, but me and Chris are literally writing contracts out about what we have to be held accountable to. And if we don't do it, there's a heavy price to pay if we don't do it. So it's about doing everything you can do, bro. And like, I'm glad you asked that question, because seriously, I've literally had to check myself with relationships and how I carry myself with people around me, bro.
And it's like, and I can attest to kind of a similar situation. I had a cousin named Dee Dee. She was the youngest cousin on my mom's side out of all of us. And she passed away a couple days before our high school graduation of toxic shock. Perfectly healthy. tampon just got left in her and it turned her blood poison and all that stuff like that, shut down all her organs in a matter of days, bro. Perfectly healthy girl just died, bro. Swear to God. None of us knew what toxic shock was until the autopsy. We didn't know. Yeah.
Yo, wait,
And
so wait, hold on, Chris. You just completely messed me up just now. She had a tampon that was left in.
Yep.
And her blood went septic. Her blood went toxic.
Yep, it's called toxic shock. You should look into it. Yep, but they don't talk about it a lot because I'm assuming tampon companies silence it or pay people off or just whatever. Wow. But nigga, you can, when you search it though, you'll find a whole bunch of that shit is, unfortunately, it's common. And that's why I don't date girls that use tampons. I stopped when
ladies.
I stopped dating girls who use tampons. I don't tolerate. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that at all. I don't.
This is a men's podcast, but to the ladies who are checking this out, please be safe when it comes down to that. This is my first time hearing this. I've never in my life heard that you can die from having a tampon in too long. Ladies, please be careful and do the research. I will be doing that once I get off of here because I do have a daughter that will get up in age at some point. So I need to do my research on these tampon things.
It's something about like anything that's collecting blood inside the body, bacteria can form. And once that bacteria forms, like it tells you the blood is toxic. And literally once that bacteria forms, there's nothing that they can, nothing. Literally it's nothing. It's going to go to each organ one by one, shut them down. And nigga, in a couple of days, they'll be dead. Yep. But so when that had happened, I'll never forget because the crazy thing is though, we had went down to Alabama because my mom's uncle had passed. He's 85. So, you know what I'm saying? We was all expecting that. Right. But while we was down there, the Didi got sick. You know what I'm saying? Like, but really, she's only really displaying signs of like the flu. So nobody's really thinking anything. Everybody's just thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, she just got like the flu or some shit.
Right.
So then after a couple of days, she's just like, she go to her granddad and she's just like, yo, I'm not right. Like, I'm not right. Something's not. And so he rushed her to the hospital and they immediately put her in the ICU. And everybody was just like, what the bro, that's what we said. We was just like, everybody was just like, what? But it's still in my mind, I'm just like,
that's not good.
But in my mind, I'm still just like, there's no way nothing's about to happen. You know what I'm saying? Because again, she's 18, like young, like don't do nothing, nigga. I know all the reckless behavior I done did, and I'm still so in my mind, I'm just like, there's no way. So, yeah, man. And then she would, so my mom, you know, all the women, that's another good thing about having daughters. If you ever get sick, the women will be there by you every day. Your son will pop in and out. But
that's a fact.
So my grandma, my mom, they up there with her every day, all day. You know what I'm saying? One thing I can't say, her dad, he didn't leave her side at all. The whole time he was up there, they had to force him to leave to go shower one day. And then immediately he was right back on her side,
right
by her
back
side,
to
literally the whole time. And
shout out to the king.
And that's dope because he wasn't really a present father growing up. But one thing that really helps him out is that when she needed him, he was there. He just happened to really be in town and really be with her. Had no idea she was gonna get sick. He literally just happened to be there. And I feel like he even said this. He don't know if he would still be here if he would have been off somewhere else doing some other shit and found out that she had passed in the way that she had passed and all that stuff. So it was really kind of like a blessing that he literally just happened to be in Alabama. He wasn't even there for the funeral, just happened to be there visiting his parents when my cousin, who was raised by his parents, my grandma and all that, because he didn't raise her. No. So, but yeah, so she would always keep asking every day, is Chris gonna come? Is Chris? So my mom asked one day, did he ask if he was gonna come visit? But in my head, I'm just like, she gonna be like, she just got the flu. What the fuck? I don't like hospitals. I'm not about to go to the hospital just for. And literally, bro, something told me one day was just like, go. And I went, but literally, bro, when I went, I'm still thinking she's gonna be okay. And she was good the whole time I was at the hospital. I talked to her and all this other stuff like that. And she died that night. She died that night. Yep. Yeah. Blew my whole thing. But that's why I'm big on listening to the voice within. When you get that random feeling out of nowhere or a random thought, hey, call this person. Hey, I wonder how this person's doing. Hey, reach out to that person. Hey, that one person you've been holding a grudge to. Hey, bro, call them motherfuckers. Hey, that one person, man, that you ain't let that shit go and y'all fell out, but y'all used to be real close at a point in time, but y'all fell out over a bitch, or y'all fell out over a little bit of money, or y'all fell out over whatever it was.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, man, go handle that. Go address that, because That's why I asked you the lesson. So what I try to do is always pull a lesson from every death. And what I learned from Didi is I'm not about to hold no grudges because everybody got an expiration date. We don't know when anybody's is. And so if I got an opportunity to see family, I'm going to go see them. I don't care how much of an inconvenience it is for me. That's why I went to Atlanta for Thanksgiving. I said it since Didi the last 5 years, any opportunity I've had to see family when I'm invited, nigga, I'm going to go. Fuck it. Took my son, took my baby mama. We all went down there and all that. But that's what that lesson was for me because I would prefer not to have any regrets. We talk about it all the time. Regret minimalization. I would prefer to have as little regrets as possible. And again, when they did that study on people who were 85 and older and they asked them what did they regret, they did not focus on the stuff they did. They focused on the stuff that they didn't do. They didn't reach out to that person. They didn't make amends with that person. They didn't stop that person from walking out. It's a lot of things that we just got when we think about our ego and all that. And that's what leads to a lot of the regret. Just put that ego aside and just deal with it. Because again, I always talk about go to your deathbed.
And like you ain't never lied about this fucking ego, bro. Like it's the most like if it's not harnessed and used right, because we've already spoke about how you can use the ego right. So for everybody who's gonna get on our case and talking about the ego can be used the right way, I get it. But listen, we're talking about the destructive ego right now, the one that holds you back from not being the individual you know you should be to the people who you should be that person to. That's what we're talking about right now. And I believe that any individual who has an opportunity, like Chris was saying right now, to go talk to an individual or go see a family member, like, yo, you should do that because it's a countdown. Sad to say, but it's a countdown, bro. Each time you interact with somebody, it's literally a countdown because what you don't know is how many more times you're going to have a chance to interact with that person. You don't know the last time you seen someone could be very well the last time you ever see them. And do you want to leave that on that note with that person? And that's what I'm taking from it too. Is like, yo, how are you leaving conversations? Like you said, having hard conversations. Yeah, have them. But in having those conversations, how are you walking away from them? Are you still full of resentment? Are you still full of anger? Or are you walking away saying, yo, I'm going to be healed from this?
One thing that I do, we might have talked about it one time before, but I do encourage people to do the forgiveness and apology list, right? And a forgiveness and apology list is great when it comes to mending these damaged relationships. And I actually did this when I was going through my healing journey. I wrote a list of every person that I had ever wronged in my entire life, going back as literally as early memories I could, elementary school, before, every person. Reached out to every person. Hit them up. Hey, for that one thing that I did, I wanted to let you know and just hear it from my mouth, even though it might be 20 years later, it might be 10 years later, 5 years later, 2 years later, whatever it is, whatever the person I'm talking to, y'all just want you to know I'm sorry. I ain't got no justifications. I ain't blaming it on shit. I'm just defending it. And right now I'm giving you the opportunity to get your shit off.
Right.
All right, they gonna say how they feel. All right, also, is there anything else that I've ever done to you that you felt was wrong and that it was never addressed or still unresolved? And you give a person a chance to get their shit off. And you eat it and you take that shit. And what happens, an interesting thing is what happens is most of the time, depending on how you chose to handle letting them get their shit off, they'll provide you with the opportunity to get your shit off. If you handle it right, most of the time they will be like, well, now that you done said all that, is there anything I ever done to you that, you know what I'm saying, we ain't never got addressed or ain't never, and then you could talk. But a lot of times, back to how me and my father was able to resolve our issues. When I was 16, I wrote a list of everything he had ever done to wrong me, and I just went to him and just fired that shit off, and he got defensive. And of course, motherfucker come to me and be like, Chris, you did this, you did this, you did this. I'm gonna get defensive. That's just human nature. So everybody is. It's about just changing it up. And then just how we word it, just like with ChatGPT, it's all about how you talk to it. So don't talk in a way that's going to breed defense. Right. Be willing to be the change you want to see. So I had to lead when it comes to, I wouldn't start any conversation because some of the people that I had to apologize to was also some of the people I had to forgive, which means, nigga, you got to apologize to me too. But if I just come at a person like, yo, I need you to apologize. that ain't really about to give no sincere apology. But when you lead by example and you become an example to them and they get to witness you, damn, okay, this person's being accountable. First off, like one dude told me when I called him, he said, dude, I don't think anybody has ever called me, nigga, just to nigga acknowledge they wrongs, bro. He was like, that alone, nigga, literally, this is one of my older cats, but that's what he was like, bro, that alone means a lot. The fact that you just willing to call on your own accord. I didn't need no, I'm not asking these niggas for nothing, because you know sometimes people do that shit too. Call, try to be all nice, and then follow up with, nigga, can you do this for me?
By the way,
yeah, like, hey, can I borrow $20? You know, something like that.
Hey, can I hold? Let me hold something now. You know what I mean?
But it was none of that. It was just strictly, look, bro. The only reason I'm calling is just to apologize to you for what happened back in the day. I was wrong at that. Even if you don't view it as wrong for my own moral compass, bro, that was wrong. I don't treat people like that. I don't talk to people like that. I'm sorry. That was wrong of me. I don't know what was wrong with me. That wasn't cool. You don't deserve that. And they'll sit there and they, damn, man, I appreciate that. And literally, before you get off the phone, you know what I'm saying? I'll be like, all right, man, whoa, before you, well, shit, did I do something? Is there? And then you got a chance to, now again, when they give you that opportunity, don't just jump on you know what I'm saying? And try to just,
so nigga, yeah, fuck you, because you know what I mean?
Yeah. Handle it with a little bit of grace, but that will give you the opportunity to just kind of, and then not in all cases. I remember I called an ex-girlfriend from college, and and that don't mean you got to accept everything that people say. Because she just went in on me, nigga, like I was just like the devil. And I was just like, I just let her get her shit off and said, okay. And then we got off the phone. But in my head, I'm just like, that bitch is crazy. But I just let her get her shit off as far as telling me that I was the devil.
You hit that. I'm talking about, nigga. Yo, my wife told me some shit one day that had me stuck. The very same statement you just made. So I apologized to her for something. And because she didn't respond, right, when I gave her the apology in the way that I thought she was supposed to respond, I was kind of in my feelings. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, I apologize. Like, I did something that was really big for me. Like, that was, you know what I mean? To me, that was major. And she simply said something so profound, was like, just because you apologize doesn't mean I have to accept it. I was like, new perspective unlocked. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh shit. Because here we are thinking that, oh yeah, you could just go apologize to somebody and it's all good because you apologized. But what happens when you
take the feelings away?
What happens when the person doesn't receive your apology the way you gave it, or the way you intended it, right? Or even if they
fail it, even if they accept it, it doesn't change. Nigga, I can still feel a certain type of way. I hear you, nigga, but I'm still feeling a certain type of way.
Right? It's like right now, me punching you in your face, or somebody punching me in the face, it's like, pow, ow, I apologize. Well, I still got this big ass knot on the side of my eye right now that it's gonna take time. Right. It's gonna take time for this knot to go from this big to this big. You know what I'm saying? So, I accept your apology right now, but I still feel the pain. And when she said that, bro, it was really, really eye-opening for me, because like here I was still being selfish, like on the note of, well, I got past my hardship and apologized. But just because you quote unquote did that doesn't mean that the person you're giving the apology to has to be open to accept it, number one, or number two, accept it the way or respond how you want them to respond.
And that right there is one of the main roadblocks to people doing it. The fear of how they feel that person's going to respond. They don't want to be rejected. And back to the damn ego. So yes, the ego has positive use cases. But however, the ego, like most things, is fucking like electricity. Electricity just in and of itself, nigga, don't mean shit. It could be dangerous or harm or helpful. It depends on how you use it. But if only when it's harnessed is it actually useful to humans. When it's not harnessed, that shit is dangerous to humans. Absolutely. And it's the same way when it comes to us. Like, we just got to make sure that, you know, we're harnessing it. But people are just scared to just be vulnerable. They're scared to just, because I tell my clients, you got to be willing for a motherfucker to be like, bitch, get off my phone. Or just because you don't know how a person going to respond. Because especially when you hit up people that you're not connected to no more, that you ain't talked to in 10 years
Right.
or 5 years or whatever it is. You don't know what the fuck emotional temperament this person's on. So they could be like, when you ask them, yo, have I ever done nothing? Yeah, nigga, they could get all in you, and you got to be willing for that. But people, the unknown is what makes people scared of doing that. Like I had a friend who was encouraging him to reach out to his father. His father is still alive at this point, and he was like, yeah, that motherfucker called me on my birthday and just left a fucking message. And he was like, and in the message, he didn't even fucking say happy birthday. And I'm like, could it possibly be that he was expecting you to call him back? And he didn't want to just tell you happy birthday over the voicemail because he already feels like you don't really look at him like he cares. So maybe he was expecting you to call him back so he could tell you, like, we don't know. We just mind reading, but you're just mind reading to the negative right now. You don't know. Like, it could literally just be, he's just like, well, shit, my son didn't call me back, so fuck it, he don't want to talk to me. You don't know. Like, and it finally just hyped him up with the courage to just figure out, like, we don't know. Again, it could, your dad, you could call that nigga, he could be like, man, fuck you, get off my phone, nigga, I never wanted you. He could say that. That's a very possibility.
It's really real. He could
but he could also be like, yo, son, thank you for calling me. I didn't know how to reach out to you, man. I didn't know the words to say. I didn't know we don't know. Right. But the unknown is what holds a lot of us back.
Nah, Chris, bro, and you're absolutely right when you say it, because I think, and I told you before, that's my definition of anxiety, bro. My definition of anxiety is the fear of feeling. Like, it's simply the feel of feeling abandoned. It's the fear of feeling neglected or spoken down or
what happens when you feel neglected or
spoken down, disregarded. You know what I'm saying?
But I'm saying, what happens when you feel that way? What do you do?
Oh, well, me, like, I don't.
What's your behaviors?
When I feel, I don't really know my behaviors when I feel disregarded. Damn, it's a good question, Chris, because I don't really care to be like regarded, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what about abandoned? When you start to feel abandoned.
Okay, now
what do you do?
Talk about abandoned, like when I get into my abandoned phase, when I feel like I'm being abandoned, I go into attack mode. I attack everything around me. Everything around me has something to be attacked on, and I jump all over it. I'm nitpicking.
You go into survival mode.
Word. Absolutely. I go back to what your default is and what you know to protect yourself with, which is for me is defensive, and it's attacking everything around me so I don't feel attacked.
Just because scared to feel alone.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So when you feel alone, so if you were to feel alone, what would happen? What would happen if you felt alone? Like, what would happen if you were alone?
If I was alone, nothing. Like, nothing would happen. There would be no repercussions. Huh?
So what's the fear?
What fear?
When the fear of being alone, the fear of abandonment and all that. Like, what would happen if you were abandoned?
Oh, no, I don't have the fear of abandonment now. Like, me personally, you asking me?
Mm-hmm. Like, when you say when you feel abandoned, you start to get aggressive and all this stuff like that. You attack people around you.
Yeah. No, those are my tactics for my father. When I felt my abandonment shit, when I got down to it. Oh, I didn't tell you what happened. So, so check this out. So, I didn't tell you about the John Legend story, bro. I didn't tell you about the whole thing with John Legend.
No, I don't think so. No, that don't sound familiar.
All right, so for the people who are on the podcast who heard it before, I'm gonna tell him because he hasn't. So, my wife loves John Legend, right? She is a fanatic of John Legend, and I've known that because I love the man myself. All his music is dope. Me and her actually dated and bonded over his music. So one day I got an opportunity to get her some tickets to go see him, which is front row, like literally front row seats. And I was excited because I knew how excited she was. But internally, bro, I was gloomy. Like, I was so sad, so like just unpresent emotionally. Like, I couldn't get myself to be happy and feel. So much so that when I came in the house, let's say I was at the gym or something. I came in the house and she was excited from telling her mother or whoever she was on the phone with about she's going to see John Legend. she would just see me and see my demeanor, and instantaneously I would snatch her joy from her. I just seen my behaviors just snatching her joy from her. So I didn't know what it was at that time, and I didn't want to do the work. I didn't want to sit in it. I didn't want to feel what I felt to figure it out, right? Because in order to figure something out, you got to sit in it. I didn't want to do the work to sit in whatever I was feeling to get down to the bottom of it. So over the time, it was like a 2-week span, I just ignored it. But every time she would bring up the concert, instantaneously I would get upset. Inside, I would just start just getting angry. Now I'm nitpicking now. Now, oh, yo, you stop leaving stuff all over the place. And she's the cleaner one. I'm talking about her leaving stuff on the floor, and I'm the one that's like more prone to leave shit on the floor. But here I am now. All of a sudden, I'm picking that, right? The kids call her name. You don't hear the kids calling you? She heard the kids. Like I'm jumping for no reason now. And like for me, I'm just like, now I'm angry, but I'm not checking it. Long story short, we go to the concert. We get there, and I'm sitting in the front row, and she's sitting there, and we're enjoying the concert. And he goes into his ordinary people. He's sitting at the piano. I sit down, and she stands up, and she's watching the performance. And I look at her, and I look at how she's looking at John, and she's singing. And instantaneously, I was like, yo, I got an issue. I have a fear of her leaving me. And I'm like, why do I have this? Where did this shit come from? Like, she's never been an individual who's left me or given me a reason to believe or show me behaviors. Where is this coming from? So I had to do the work now. Now at this point, when I'm literally in this concert, recognizing what's going on, I'm like, yo, I'm sorry. Like, I am in that seat. I'm just saying, I'm apologizing to her. But she can't even hit me because the music's going. But I'm apologizing over and over again because I now know that all this time, it wasn't her. It was me that was literally not dealing with my own personal issues that was causing me to lash out on her about something that I wanted to spend time with her and enjoy together with. So come to find out, all that abandonment issues like I had wasn't for my mom's. It was for my father. It was for me having that gap in my heart to where I felt like I've been abandoned. I've been voided by an individual who created me. So when you say what did I do, where that fear came from, bro, it was the fear from me feeling like how I felt with no father when it was time like, yo, where's your dad at? When that question was presented to me at all the basketball events, at all the tournaments, at everything that at school, where's your father? Where's your mom and dad? Oh, this is my mom, my grandmother, my mom, my aunt. All those feelings begin to ramp up when we had this concert. I'm like, this don't make no sense. But when I sat and actually did the work, bro, it made perfect sense. The abandonment issues I'm worried about is because I feel neglected and abandoned by an individual who created me. So now anything that my wife now has, and I told her, this has nothing to do with you. Nothing. Like her behavior patterns, nothing has to change because it wasn't her. It was me. So once I got past that, right? Once I got past and did the work of letting the emotional baggage go and let all that resentment go I spoke about, bro, like our relationship got 10 times better. And that was what, 2 years ago. So for me, that abandonment shit's out the window, bro, because the more I let go of it, the more I receive in love from the people that I want to love me. You understand what I'm saying? The more that I let go of that resentment for the people that I wanted to love me a certain way. Hear me good, people that's listening to this podcast. The more I let go of the resentment of the people that I wanted to love me and how I wanted them to love me is the same amount of more love I receive from the people now who I want to love me. Don't let that go off your head now.
Be mindful, though, that emotional triggers that we learn, especially in childhood, can never be erased. Mm. They can never be erased. No. They can only be weakened. So I'm happy to hear that they are weakened, but I don't want to accidentally, unconsciously put yourself in a situation where it could reappear because you're not expecting for it to happen. Under stressful circumstances, that trigger will come back. Yes, it will come back.
Hell
just being mindful, and I wasn't necessarily asking where it came from, but more so when you feel it, what do you do?
Oh shit. Okay. Now now I understand the question. Now, what do I do when I feel that? Oh man, my first thing to do is shut down. First thing I do is shut down. I get quiet.
You withdraw.
I withdraw from everything and everyone. I become this shell of myself that I don't recognize, because where I would speak, I'm quiet.
The funny thing about the fear of abandonment is that it brings on a fucking self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
It's like Job in the Bible. Oh Lord, the thing that I greatly feared has finally come upon me. Because the thing about self-fulfilling prophecies is that you have a belief. You think that this person is going to do something. So unconsciously, we put out the stimuli that causes that person to engage in the behavior that we was fearing. It may take some time, but that's why Bob Proctor always says, if you can hold it in your hand, you will. If you can hold it in your head, eventually you will hold it in your hand. And that means messed up circumstances too. So if we're constantly playing out, damn, she could leave me. Damn, she could do this. Damn, she smiling at that nigga. Damn, nigga, she said hi to this nigga. Damn, this happened. It's like over time.
You're creating that shit.
Well, what we're going to do is we'll create it in the sense that we will give off cues that make us unattractive to our mate, and therefore she'll start to find attraction in another mate. It wasn't the simple fact that that's what she wanted to do. It's the simple fact that your paranoia and your fear caused you to behave in ways that's not attractive to her.
Right.
And so therefore she started to get attraction.
Energies that she didn't like.
Yes. That's what the fear, that's what the worry is, because you got to think about it. Did we attract her in that state? No. So then what happens? She ends up getting involved with a confident nigga.
Right. A nigga that's like the way you was when you met her. And let me tell you,
because you wasn't thinking about the fear of abandonment when you met her.
No, you had none of that in thought process. It was nowhere near. And let me tell you, I just put a post about that a couple months back, and it was funny because I put the tears and all that, and I put the quote that said, "Coach, my girl left me for a different dude," and I said, "What? He had more money?" And I wrote, "No, he had more confidence." Because believe it or not, it seemed funny, but that was one of the guys I actually coached. Like that was his actual story. Like when he came to me, bro, he was like, "Yo, I can't lose another woman behind my confidence," and I was blown away to hear a man say it. First and foremost, to hear a man say, "Yo, first, I can't lose another woman to my own low confidence." And I said to myself, "Well, how do you know that's what you lost it? Like that's what you lost her on?" And then when he began to describe his behaviors, I said, "Oh shit, you're not kidding. You spot on." And think about this: the very thing that you attracted her with, if you go against that, you're literally performing and acting in the total opposite of what attracted her in the first place. So it's not her now just all of a sudden switching up. No, you have now switched your position on the confidence field.
Now, given credit is that when we're triggered, we're not conscious. So it isn't like a guy's like, let me consciously act like a beta male. Let me consciously act insecure as hell. Let me consciously just make her feel like that I don't value myself enough, because if I did value myself, I wouldn't be worried about her leaving, because nigga, she would know that I'm valuable, nigga. Like,
right.
But no, we don't do those things. And it is interesting, but it's just about being mindful. That's why I always tell people you want to keep certain things up around you to when you do find yourself triggered, you can see it so it can bring you back. So you can think, because if not, once you get triggered, you're fucking around and going to destroy everything you love.
Oh yeah. No, and that's for everyone. Like and that's myself, everybody included. Like me, Chris, my mom, I mean, the entire world, everybody checking this podcast out. Yo, if you don't understand that you can be triggered and what your triggers are, they will run your life. Simple as that. If you want to feel like you have some kind of control over your life, you're going to have to deal with your triggers. Period. Point blank. There is no other way about it. Everybody under the sound of my voice, under the sun, has triggers. Period. And it's up to you to understand them, manage them, and deal with them. Because
not to cut you off, bro, but to deal with to understand your partner's triggers. That is what, not even just partners, but just everybody that you're interacting with, your family. Understand your father's triggers. So when you have those conversations and difficult conversations, understand. Just like we just said, when we get triggered, we're not logical. We're gonna wow the hell out and do some shit that we got to understand that about the other person too. And so when a person's triggered, what causes us to really have dissension is that we don't have the emotional maturity enough to recognize, like, either I'm triggered or this person's triggered. Yo, let's table this until both of us are calmed down. But when you're in the moment, that ego is like, no, nigga, you got to hear me now. But that's the worst thing that we can do. It's like, no, let this person, because know that if your objective is to have a meeting of the minds, if either person is triggered, both parties don't gotta be. If one party is triggered, the conversation is not about to be productive.
No, not even a little bit. And especially if you don't understand that that person is triggered. Like, if you don't have the understanding of the factor of looking out of the picture frame, like if you don't have the capability of saying, let me step out of this and see what's actually happening, and most of us don't, in the middle of heated situations, it's almost impossible to step out of those situations and say, let me see what's going on. But if you don't recognize the partner that you're dealing with is triggered, you'll have an uphill battle on your hands. Trust me, I'm king of it. I didn't start understanding my wife's triggers until just recently. Like, I didn't understand, oh, shoot. Okay, she's triggered right now. No, before it was more so, she's triggered, now I'm angry. Are you mad? Now I'm mad. Because one thing that I've learned also, Chris, too, and you can attest to this if this is your same story, is that being that I wasn't fathered and there wasn't a dominant man in the house, I predicated everything around the emotions of my wife, my mother. So now that I'm a married man, I found myself predicating everything around the emotions of my wife. So if she's having a bad day, the house is having a bad day. If she's distraught, I'm distraught. If she's in a great mood, I'm in a happy mood. But here I am not understanding my role as a man, the one that's supposed to set the tone for the house. I'm supposed to understand that when she can't set the tone, I'm the tone. Like, but being that I wasn't taught that and I didn't see that, right? Because I didn't have that presence, I thought to myself, let me follow suit. Let me not even look and see if she's triggered. Let me just follow her emotions.
Well, we are conditioned to do that. I was watching a video today, and it's interesting because it was talking just on that. So let's just say I started to just stress you out like crazy right now. What would you do?
Hang up this motherfucking computer.
Get off the phone, right? So,
right.
But what happens when you're a baby?
Ooh, I just cry, right?
And so you just absorb it.
Right, and you can't do nothing about it.
And after you just keep absorbing, and you get what? You distract yourself because you can't physically escape, so you got to try to mentally escape.
Right.
That's what we do. So you learn to just absorb all those emotions. That's why your wife is feeling some type of way. Oh, nigga, I feel some type of way.
Right.
Because as a baby, you couldn't just leave. Like you said, if right now a nigga making you feel some type of way, I'll just leave. But as a baby, we can't. So we learn to, unfortunately, just to absorb the people that's around us.
And here we go back to last week's conversation, to the mirror neurons. Like, and here we wonder why we lash out or we imitate the behaviors of the people and the things in our life that we hated the most, right? Like, so many men that I come in contact with that are fathers now is like, yo, everything that I said I wouldn't do, or my mom did to me, or somebody did to me, I said I wouldn't do, I'm struggling with doing now to my kids.
What you resent, you become. That's why I started healing. That exact reason. That's why I started healing from my father.
Say that one more time.
You become. What you resent, you become. That's what made me start forgiving my father, because I looked up and I'm like, everything I said I fucking hated about my father growing up, I'm becoming. Every time I'm fucking, and this is when I was in college, I'm like, every time I look up, I'm fucking drinking. I didn't like the fact that my dad always drunk as a kid. Every time, you know, I would see my dad as a kid, he would be with a different woman. I'm like, nigga, here I am struggling to fucking commit.
Right.
I remember my dad getting drunk and just cussing females out, getting arguments. He would never fit. I've never seen my dad physically hit a woman ever. You know what I'm saying? Never grab him, never physical altercation, but verbally, he'll get on their ass. And like, that's what I would start doing. And so I had to realize, I'm like, look, you got to start trying to forgive him, because whether, this is why they say, whether you fear it or revere it, you will manifest it. If it's dominating in your mind, so resenting somebody is a dominant emotion, which means that they're taking up space in your mind. The ground don't care what you plant. Whether we plant poison or whether we plant some fruits or flowers and all that, it's going to bear it, whatever we plant into it.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing with our mind. So if we're just planting all day, just resentment, man, this motherfucker, oh man, I hate my dad for this, or he hate me. Emotional transference. That's why I always tell my clients, listen, you're going to create a situation where your kid is going to feel like you, how you feel towards your father. And in your mind, you will not understand why, but emotional transference, it will happen.
Right.
You need to let go of how you feel towards your father if you do not want your kid feeling that way towards you.
And
I'm telling you, shit. And it's a strange phenomenon, bro, but it happens.
It is. And let me tell you some real shit, bro. I found so much relief, even with my stepfather. So a couple years back, before my grandmother passed, she said to me, she says, make peace with George because he just did the best he could. And I didn't understand her at that time because I was young. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I didn't want to hear that shit. But it was crazy because one morning I woke up and I was so uneasy in my sleep that night. And I woke up and the first thing I kept thinking in my mind was, yo, call George. I'm like, anybody in my family knows, like, I'm not calling this man. For what? It's not what I do. I mean, him had nothing to talk about. But this morning, I just was completely uneasy about it. And I was like, yo, God, if I'm supposed to call him, like, I guess I have to. You know what I'm saying? I guess I got to do it. So I never forget, I went in my kitchen. It was crazy because I was in my kitchen and I called him and I hung up the first time. And I was looking at myself. I watched myself hang the phone up in that moment, Chris, like, oh, this is the fight. This right here is the fight. See, people don't understand that part, Chris. When we talking about doing the work and putting in and fighting and all that, I think that what actually that is gets misconstrued. The work is when you know you have to do something in that moment and you find 101 reasons not to do it. And they, in your mind, and you're logical, they sound really good too. You can find 1,000,001 reasons not to face your own evils. But yo, the moment I hung that phone up, I said to myself, oh damn, I'm not gonna level up if I don't make this call. Like I'm not gonna be better if I don't do this. So I simply called him and was like, yo, at the end of the day, I apologize for everything that I've done. Like, I know I haven't been the greatest son. I know things that we've had our ups and our downs, and I know that you did the best that you could, doing doing with what you had. And going back to you can't expect someone to express how you want them to express a receiving of your apology or whatever you're giving, because his response was who he is. And who he is, oh, okay. And in my mind, because it was so blown up in this big emotional ball, I'm thinking it's supposed to be this big come to Jesus moment, hug, you know what I mean? And say all this emotional shit over the phone. And he was simply like, oh, okay. Thank you for calling me. How's everything going? I was just like, that's it? Like, and I had to really catch myself because I'm like, that's what I was fearful of? This right here? this nothingness? You know what I'm saying? Like, all of this is what I was fearing. But because I did that, though, right? In hindsight, because I had that conversation, yeah, it might not have meant nothing to him. It might not have meant nothing. But what if it did for me in that point, it showed me that not only did I have the capability of facing my own fears, but I also know how to stand up and be a man in the face of things that I don't want to do. Because the truth of the matter is, I didn't want to do that in that moment. I didn't want to go against my own ego in that space and make that phone call. I didn't want to do it. But because I did it, now I'm a better man. Now, me and this individual, me and my stepfather now have a open conversation now, and there's no resentment anymore. There's no more harbored negative energy.
That's why they say the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek.
That's
why I always tell people, like, yo,
that's a fact.
You really like, I don't want to do it. Like my guy who didn't want to call his dad. I'm like, bro, I guarantee you it's a huge transformation on the other end of you making that fucking phone call, bro.
Facts.
You having a conversation, whether it go positive or negative, it's a huge fucking just because it's so much growth attached to that. Because like you said, most of that be imaginary fears. And this is why in Proverbs, it tells us that everything that the wicked fears will overtake them, but everything that the righteous desires will be granted. And to me, being wicked is to go against the word of God, which is to walk by sight and not by faith. So if you're walking by sight, everything you fear will happen to you.
Facts.
But to go with the word of God is to walk by faith and not by sight. So if you're walking by faith, then everything that you desire will be granted. It's all about what's in the mind, whether you're focusing on something you fear, that's going to overtake you. Or if you're focusing on something you desire, then it's going to be granted. But it's just making sure. That's why I always tell people, mind what's going on in here. The reason how you're looking at the situation is the reason why you don't want to do it, because you're viewing it as, oh, this person could say that. Well, what would, if they did say that, what would happen? Oh, well, they would just say that. Well, what would that mean? Because one of the things that we have to understand is nothing has any meaning outside of the meaning you give it.
Facts.
So we gave it a meaning that made it feel a certain type of way, but in actuality, just like we gave it the first meaning that made it a negative reaction in our body, we can choose to reanalyze the situation and give a new meaning to it. That's why Bob Proctor says your belief system should be evaluated often, because the more you evaluate it, the more it actually changes. That's what keeps people held back for so long, is that most people don't tend to evaluate their beliefs.
I was just telling my actual cousin this, as a matter of fact, because we're talking about relationships and we're talking about how ours have been so successful over the last couple of years. And it's like, it was a realization of like where we were at that time, we was enough for each other, but we have matured and grown along the way. And our partners have come along on that journey, and we've accepted their journey and allowed them the space to grow while they've allowed us to grow, and we've grown together on the journey. That's what the real success is. And like you said, in that growth, there's a whole bunch of beliefs that are going to change, because what you do is based on your belief system. So your behaviors are going to change based upon what you believe. So over years, over times, your beliefs and your fears are going to change. But if as long as you're open, like right now, I think that my wife and our relationship is as most potent as it's ever been right now, because we've opened each other up and been able to tell each other those dark secrets about our fears. We've been able to say, yo, I feel this way, or I'm fearful about this, or I'm hurting in this way. And that's allowed not only for each other to grow, but allow for each other to give us space to grow. Because if I don't know she's growing in this space, my ability and our ability to see our partners grow and then give them the space to grow is where our relationship has taken off at. Because like you said, the beliefs continue to change, so the person continues to change. So if you don't give a person space to grow or to change, you're going to hold them back to what you thought they used to be. And then your relationship is in shambles. But that's why literally now more than ever, I'm saying to myself, all right, constantly be mindful of not only myself, but my wife, the things, her traumas, her triggers, her issues, her mindsets, her growth patterns, her thing that she's going through, and then also my kids. Because like I was telling you earlier, bro, I recognize that my son doesn't adapt and respond to things the way I did. He's a totally different creature. So what worked for me won't work for him. So I have to now be mindful of 3 other individuals, how they operate, their wants, their needs. their traumas, their triggers, right? Because it's crazy it may be, my kids have their own traumas already, as young as they are. So I have to be mindful of those things too. And I'm saying these things and I'm being vulnerable and transparent because I want every father to understand that, yo, this is the process. What you're hearing us say right now, what you're seeing us talk about and transfer energy about right now is the exact process. We're not just sitting here talking haphazardly for the last hour and a half. No, this is the work that it takes for us to be the individuals we need to be for the generations to come, because we don't know what tomorrow brings. But if we are preparing ourselves and making ourselves better than generations before us, that's all we could ever be asked to do. That's it. Just be better than generations that passed, standing on the shoulders of giants. Because at the end of the day, when we leave here, we're supposed to have raised them a few notches, so it won't be that hard for them to keep going. So, Chris, man, before we get up out of here, I know we said a whole bunch tonight, and we tapped into the conversation of the fathers, but then we hit a right turn and went down the emotional area and stayed there. So we will come back into and finish this next week. But before we get up out of here, my brother, do you guys think you want to say to people before we get up out of here?
Just stay blessing, stay progressing, stay encouraged. I dropped my book, The Power of Forgiveness. Go check it out. Link in my bio on IG, McBride.Institute. Check us out on IG. Always dropping some fire content on there. If you're needing one-on-one coaching in regards to healing, definitely schedule a one-on-one consultation with me. I do free consultations. Everybody gets one free consultation. If you're not interested after the consultation, then you got a free consultation. There's no hard feelings, no obligations, no real expectations. I just look at it as practice for every person that doesn't sign up. So if you're looking to do a coaching session, definitely click the link in my bio, schedule a healing session with me, and we will get it rocking. Other than that, it's been a pleasure, and I always look forward to being on the podcast.
Hey, man, listen, y'all heard him. Everybody out there that's looking to jump into that healing space, what you all should be. Hear me good. You all should be. There is an individual that should not be looking to heal, because we all have our traumas. We've all been through some things. And if the truth be told, if we live longer, we're going to go through some more things. So this journey of life that we're on is simply just about being aware that you're on a journey. And every so long, you're going to feel some turbulence. You're going to feel some rough patches. But understanding that it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And to all the fathers out there, especially you fatherless fathers, understand that this podcast here is for you. We're doing what we're doing for you. We're doing what we're doing because we are getting through the healing that we need to get through. We're building ourselves so we can be the better versions, but not just ourselves, but for our sons, our daughters, and generations to come. This is why we do what we do on a professional level. This is why we do on a podcast level. This is why we exist. We have been committed. We have dedicated our lives to making sure that we help individuals be better. And we will not stop until we close our eyes in that final time. So with that being said, until next time we see you, don't forget, to the world, you're just a dad. But to your family, you're the world. But until the next time we catch y'all out there, be good to yourself and the ones around you. But if you can't be good to the ones around you, well, that's okay. Just get those people around you. Yo, this is RJD, the Imperfect Gentleman. And this has been another dope episode of the Imperfect Fathers Podcast. Y'all be blessed, because we will.